Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Okay, welcome to yet another biological class. Today we'll be looking at transport system. I am Olajide, and this program is powered by Fusion Mobile e-learning clinic transport system. These are the primary outlines that we'll be looking at before other outlines. What is a transport system? Transport system talks about all the processes involved in the transfer of gases in the body, all the processes involved in the movement of food in the body. So processes that involve in the movement of food, in the transfer of gases and all that is called the transport system. So now why do we need transportation? There is a need for transportation because food substances has to be taken from where they are produced to where they are needed. Hormones have to be transferred from where they are produced to their targeted organ. So there is a need for gases to move. There is a need for organisms to move to get food. There is a need for a transport system, because transport system brings about growth, brings about efficiency and all that, and it brings about metabolism as well. So there is a need for it. Transport system in lower organisms. Lower organisms basically make use of their body parts. Why? Because the surface area to volume ratio of their body is high, and so they can easily make use of their body. And what process do they undergo? It is diffusion. They make use of simple diffusion by making use of their body surface. Now, why do we need transport system in large organisms? Large organisms are multicellular organisms. They are not unicellular organisms. They have several organelles, they have several cells, they have several systems. Again, the location of these cells are far from one another. So there is a need for a transport system. There is a need for a transport system. It is not just a one-way system where body surface or body parts can be used. No, there is a need for a transport system. What are the materials what are the materials for transport? In plants, we have hormones. Plant hormones are there for transport. We have tannins, we have alkaloids, they are there for transport. In animals, we have CO2, we have oxygen, we have excretory product and all that. Even excretory products that are not useful, they need to be transported out of the body as well. What is the media for transformation? The media for transformation talks about those vessels that are used in transformation. We have the blood. You and I know the blood is actually reddish in color. We have the lymph. LYP, what the lymph? The lymph is similar to the tissue fluid, but it has no red blood cell. And aside from that, it has extracellular lymphocyte. It has more lymphocyte compared to blood. We have the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm can also be used, so we can make use of the blood to carry food materials. We can make use of the lymph, or we can make use of the cytoplasm as well. So now we'll be looking at the mechanism of transport for organisms. We're going to be starting from lower organisms. Okay. You're welcome. So we're looking at mechanism of transport in some organisms. Amoeba and paramecium, they make use of cytoplasmic streaming. What I mean by cytoplasmic streaming, these are the actions of the cytoplasm. It helps them to change shape. It helps them to engulf food. It helps them to move food out of their body as well. Hydra make use of their gut wall movement. The gut wall movement of Hydra leads to the entering of allows food to enter into their mouth and food to go out as well. The flagella is also present in the gut wall. So the whipping action of the flagella also allows food to enter and go out. So the flatworm makes use of their body surface because they have surface area to volume ratio is high. So they can make use of their body surface. Insect and mollusca, they have open circulatory system. So this will happen. The heart opens, the heart pours out blood into a body cavity called the hemocoel. And so that is it about mechanisms of transport in some organisms. We're going to be looking at that of man specifically. So we're going to be looking at the transport system in man, the transport system in you and I. The basic transport system in man are the blood and the lymph. The blood and the lymph. I said earlier that the lymph has no red blood cell. The lymph has no red blood cell, and as well it has extracellular lymphocyte compared to the blood. Are you with me? And so now we're looking at the blood. A blood is a tissue in fluid form. A blood is a tissue in fluid form. Man has got 5 to 6 liters of blood on the average. 5 to 6 liters of blood. The blood is made up of two parts. We have the blood corpuscles and we have the plasma. The blood corpuscles is also known as the blood cells. They are basically divided into two. We have the red blood cell. We have the white blood cell, and we have the platelets. The red blood cell is called erythrocyte. White blood cell is called leukocyte. White platelet is called thrombocyte. Platelet is called thrombocyte. The red blood cell is anucleated. What does it mean to be anucleated? It has no nucleus. It has a lifespan of 120 days. It has a lifespan of 120 days. That's the red blood cell. That's about 4 months. If you plus or minus, about 4 months. So that no, that will be 3 months. 120 days is 3 months. So it has a lifespan of 120 days to 3 months. It's anucleated. It lack what? It lack nucleus. It is produced in the bone marrow. It is produced in the bone marrow. Sorry. So 120 will be 4 months. That's 120 divided by 30. 4, yeah. So 120 is 4 months. So it has a lifespan of 4 months. That's 120 days. It is produced in the bone marrow. It got its red color from hemoglobin, iron, which is present in hemoglobin. It is anucleated, so it's called erythrocyte. The white blood cell is also known as leukocyte. White blood cell is irregular in shape. It is amoeboid in shape. It has nucleus. It is amoeboid in shape. It has nucleus. It lives for many months. What then is the function of the white blood cell? White blood cell is basically divided into two. We have the phagocytes. And we have the lymphocytes. What's the function of the phagocyte? Phagocytes are white blood cells that ingest bacteria. When they see bacteria, when they see germs and all that, they ingest it. They ingest bacteria. So while lymphocytes produces antibodies. Antibodies help in fighting against infection in the body. So phagocyte engulf bacteria. Lymphocyte produces antibodies which help in fighting against germs as well. Those ones, they are against infection in the body. So we have the phagocyte and we have the lymphocyte. Don't forget, the phagocyte and the lymphocyte, they are amoeboid in shape. They have nucleus. They live for many months. And lastly, where are they produced? They are produced in the bone marrow. In the spleen and in the nodes as well. They are produced in the bone marrow, in the spleen and in the nodes as well. The red blood cell is only produced in the bone marrow. So now we're looking at thrombocytes. Thrombocyte is also called platelet. What is the function of the thrombocyte? The function of the thrombocyte is to aid in blood clotting. The function of the thrombocyte is to aid in blood clotting. Clotting. That's the function of the thrombocyte. The thrombocyte contains an enzyme called contains an hormone called thromboplastin or it's an enzyme, or thrombokinase, an enzyme. Other name is an enzyme. Enzyme ends with the word ASE. So it contains thromboplastin or thrombokinase. So irregularity or malfunctioning of the platelets will lead to what we call hemophilia. Hemophilia is excessive bleeding, or you can just call it hemorrhage. So when you have a kind of cut on your leg, what happens is that the platelets will get to work. Your leg will get that particular point where you have this injury will get exposed to the air. When you get exposed to the air, thrombokinase or thromboplastin will be activated. When it's activated, it produces fibrin or fibrinogen. So they form a mesh, a kind of cutting around it, and then it will clot. So that's how it works. So again, we have the erythrocyte, the leukocyte, and the thrombocyte. The thrombocyte help in blood clotting. Now, don't forget that the major part are the blood and the lymph. So now we're going to be looking at the lymph. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the lymph. But before we look at the lymph, recall we just talked on the blood cells, red blood cell, white blood cell, and the blood platelet. And we said for the blood platelets, they are there for clotting as well, blood clotting, they secrete thrombokinase and all that. And one thing you know is that the blood platelets, which is the thrombocyte, they are produced in the red bone marrow. So I said the blood is made up of two parts. We have the blood corpuscles and the plasma. The blood corpuscles and the plasma. So what is plasma? Plasma is a liquid portion of the blood. Plasma is a liquid portion of the blood. It contains 90% water. Plasma contains 90% water and 10% of vitamins, hormones, minerals, and all that, but 90% water and 10% of it. What's the major function of the plasma? It helps to carry food material in the body. That's the major function of the plasma. So we're now looking at lymph. What is a lymph? As I said earlier, a lymph is similar to a tissue fluid. A lymph has no red blood cell. It has more extra lymphocyte, as the case may be. Its movement is enhanced by the action of the muscle. The lymph has node. What is the function of the node? The lymph goes through the node in order to become pure before going back into the bloodstream. What differentiates the lymph from other circulatory systems is that it ends blindly. What are the functions of the lymph? It helps in body defense, and it helps in absorption of fatty acid and glycerol. So now we're going to be looking at the function of the blood. So we're looking at the function of blood. The following are the various functions of blood. They help in the transportation of oxygen, excretory products, hormones, and digested food. They help in regulating temperature by annihilating heat from the body. They help in the production of antibodies, and they help in blood clotting as well. What are the various types or the various groups of antibodies that we have? Antibodies are basically subdivided into four based on their lymphocyte that produce them anyway. We have the antitoxin. Antitoxin means against toxin. So the function of the antitoxin is to alienate. The function of the antitoxin is to neutralize every toxin produced by bacteria in the body. Toxin means poisonous substance. Every poisonous substance produced by bacteria in the body, the antitoxin antibody will do what? Will render it what? Fruitless. It will render it it will neutralize it. It will take away the effect. That's the function of the antitoxin. We have the agglutinin. What's the function of the agglutinin? Agglutinin will clump the bacteria. No matter the amount of bacteria or the group, it will clump them together. So agglutinin is the clumping of those bacteria. We have lysine. What's the function of the lysine? Lysine destroys the protective coat of the bacteria, the outer coat of the bacteria. Lysine, what? It destroys it. And last, we have the precipitin. What's the function of the precipitin? Every toxin from the bacteria, it makes them look like a precipitate, thereby changing them to a harmless status, so to speak. So we're going to be looking at the circulatory system in man, the open, the closed, the various types. Okay, so now we're looking at the circulatory system in mammals. The circulatory system in mammals are the various types that we've got. We have the closed circulatory system, we have the open circulatory system. What are the differences between the closed circulatory system and the open circulatory system? In the closed circulatory system, blood moves from the arteries to the capillaries, then to the vein, and back to the heart. And so that's the way it goes: capillaries, vein, back to the heart. And now one major characteristic of this is that blood movement is confined to the vessels. Blood movement is confined. Confined means it is restricted. It is confined to the blood vessels alone. Now, blood is not circulated or transferred to any part of the body. No, it is confined. It is just within the vessels. It is not moving to any part of the body. It is not moving out of the heart. Everything goes back to the heart, starts from the heart, goes back to the heart. It's not moving to any part of the body. So that's what we call closed circulatory system. Closed circulatory system. It is found in annelids. Annelids are earthworms. It's found in annelids and all vertebrates. It's found in annelids and all vertebrates. Open circulatory system. What is an open circulatory system? In an open circulatory system, the blood moves from the arteries to the capillary to the vein, then to the heart. Then from the heart, it branches out. It leads out of the heart. But for the open circulatory system, it leads out into a blood space. It leads out into a blood space, and that blood space is called hemocoel. It's called hemocoel. So that's just a major difference. Here it leads out into the blood space, and it is called what? Hemocoel. Hemocoel basically. So that's all you need to know about closed and open. So what is a single circulatory system? In a single circulatory system, the blood moves. The blood passes through the heart only once in a complete circulation. Blood is circulating like this. It moves to the heart only once. It's not coming back only once. And once the circulation ends and another circulation wants to begin, it moves to the heart again only once. Only once. Single circulation, the blood passes through the heart only once. Only once. Only once. While for double circulation, the blood goes through the heart twice. It moves 2 times. twice, and this one is actually seen in man. It moves two times. So double circulation leads to pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. What is pulmonary circulation? Pulmonary means it is associated with the lung. Systemic means it is associated with the body. So pulmonary now is heart plus lungs. When the blood moves from the heart to the lungs, in order for it to be oxygenated, we'll call it pulmonary. When the blood moves from the heart to the body, we'll call it what? Systemic. So any way you choose to see it, the blood is going through the heart two times. And so that's why we call it double circulation. It is going through the heart twice. The heart to the lung, blood will move from the heart to the lung, oxygenated. It goes back, heart to the body back to the heart. So that's systemic. So now we're going to be looking at the heart and the various segments of the heart. Okay, so we're going to be looking at blood vessels and the heart. Blood vessels are basically subdivided into three. We have the arteries, we have the veins, and we have the capillaries. The arteries have a thick muscular wall. The arteries have elastic wall. All arteries carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. All artery carries oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. All artery carries oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. It carries deoxygenated blood. And here our pressure is high. And one thing about artery again, the artery has no valve. It has no valve except the semilunar valve. It has no valve except the semilunar valve. The vein is thin. It has thin wall. It is not thick like artery. It has non-elastic wall. It carries deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein, and it has low pressure. It has valve as well. Now the capillaries are thin wall and they are tiny. Why are they tiny? So that they can penetrate every organ. It is also pertinent for you to know that arteries they branch into smaller arteries called what? Arterioles. They branch into smaller arteries called arterioles, while veins branches into smaller veins called venules. And so basically we have the heart here. The artery carries blood to the heart. So we have the artery carries blood to the heart. The vein takes away blood from the heart. So we have the vein. Vein branches into venules, smaller veins, and then they branch into capillaries. And so the capillaries branches into smaller arteries called arterioles, and then artery. So this is the blood circulation, basically among the vessels only. And so now we're going to be looking at the structure of the heart and the various parts. Okay, the heart is one of the most powerful organ in the body. It is 4-chambered. It has 4 chambers. Don't forget, the heart of man undergoes double circulation. It has 4 chambers. We have the right and left auricle, and we have the right and left ventricle. The right and left auricle and the right and left ventricle. The wall of the ventricles, that's the right and left ventricle. They are thicker and stronger compared to the wall of the auricles. Why? Because whenever blood wants to leave the heart, it goes out through the ventricles. And so the wall is thicker in the sense that it has more pressure to push out the blood from the heart into every part of the body. So we've established the fact that the ventricles have thicker wall compared to the auricles. Now, even in the ventricle, the left ventricle has a wall that is thicker and stronger than the right ventricle. This is what I'm trying to say. Ventricle has wall thicker than the auricle. Left ventricle has a wall thicker than the right ventricle. Now, what is the septum? The septum is known as the wall of the heart. It divides the heart into 2 equal halves. So the septum is the wall of the heart. It divides the heart into 2 equal halves. And we have the left auricle and the ventricle. What divides the left auricle and the ventricle is called the bicuspid valve. The bicuspid valve is also known as the mitral valve. So it is the bicuspid valve is found in between the left auricle and the left ventricle. It makes sure that blood does not return to the left auricle through the ventricle. So whenever blood moves from the left auricle to the left ventricle, it creates a partition so that it doesn't move away. So blood is restricted to the ventricles, left auricle and left ventricle. And we have another one that restricts movement from the right auricle and the right ventricle. And so for the right auricle and ventricle, we have the tricuspid valve. It has 3 cusps. It tricuspid valve, and we have the bicuspid valve. So don't forget, in between the right auricle and the right ventricle, we have the tricuspid valve. In between the right ventricle and the left ventricle, in between the left auricle and the left ventricle, we have the bicuspid valve. In between the right auricle and the right ventricle, we have the tricuspid valve. And so for left, we have the bi. For right, we have the tri. And so you can just call it LBRT. You can code it that way. We have the in between the left auricle and the left ventricle, we have the bicuspid valve. In between the right auricle and the right ventricle, we have the tricuspid valve. Now, what connects the bicuspid valve to the tricuspid valve is what we call the cordial tendinae. The cordial tendinae connects the bicuspid valve to the tricuspid valve in the heart of man. Now, listen up. The cordial tendinae is attached to the wall of the ventricle via the papillary muscle. The cordial tendinae connects these two together. However, what connects this to the wall of this itself is that we have bi and we have tri. This is the cordial tendon. So what really connects the cordial tendon to this, the attachment, is called the papillary muscle. It's called the papillary muscle. Papillary muscle. The largest artery in the heart, we call it the aorta. That's the largest artery in the heart. It's called the aorta. So the pulmonary artery and the aorta then will lead to the transformation or the transportation of blood, the transportation of blood in the body. Then we have what we call diastole and systole. Now diastole and systole talks about the contraction and the relaxation of the heart. The contraction and the relaxation of the heart. Okay, and now diastole talks about the contraction of the auricles. Diastole talks about the contraction of the auricle, while systole talks about the contraction of the ventricles. The word contraction talks about expansion, movement, contraction, expansion, movement. And so diastole is the contraction of the auricles, while systole is the contraction of the ventricles. Now we're going to be looking at the special arteries and veins that carries blood in man. We're going to be looking at the blood vessels. We're going to be looking at blood vessels and the organ they supply. Blood vessels and the organ they supply. So right in the neck region, I have the carotid artery and we have the jugular vein. The jugular vein carries blood to the brain. Sorry, the jugular arteries carry blood to the brain. Jugular artery carries blood to the brain. Okay, let me take it again. So blood vessels and the organ they supply. The carotid artery and the jugular vein, they are found in the neck region. They are all attached or connected to the head. And so this will happen. The carotid artery carries blood to the brain. The jugular vein carries blood away from the brain. If there is no corresponding vein to every artery carrying blood away, then there will be too much blood circulated or deposited in a particular place. So the carotid artery found in the neck carries blood to the brain. The jugular vein carries blood away from the brain. And that's why most time when you watch Chinese movie, you see them, they just snap somebody's neck. And so that's like the suction they add. That's all. So the carotid artery carries blood to the head, the brain in the head, to the head. While the jugular vein carries blood away from the head, Jugular vein carries blood away from the head, They are not supplying, they are taking away. The pulmonary artery supplies blood to the lungs. The subclavian, they are found in the forelimb. They supply blood to the forelimb. We have the hepatic artery, it supplies blood to the liver, liver. We have the mesenteric artery as well. The mesenteric artery supplies blood to the intestine and the stomach. We have the renal artery, it supplies blood to the kidney. We have the gonadal artery, they supply blood to the gonads. I say gonads produces testes and ovaries, and so they are the ones supplying blood. We have the intercostal muscle, they supply blood to the wall of the thorax, the chest region. They supply blood. We have the iliac artery, they supply blood to the wall, to the limb. And so these are the blood vessels and the organ they supply blood to. So now we're going to be looking at transport system in plants. What is translocation? These are the various processes for plants. What is translocation? Translocation simply means the movement of food from where they are produced to where they are needed. Simple. The movement of food material from where they are produced to where they are needed. How is translocation achieved? It is achieved through reaction of the phloem. It is achieved through the action of the phloem. The phloem carries food materials. The phloem carries what? Food materials. Don't forget, it carries food materials. And why water and mineral salt is carried by xylem? Water and mineral salt is carried by what? By xylem. Phloem carries food material, water and mineral salts carried by xylem. So translocation is achieved by what? The action of the phloem, because translocation talks about food specifically. And so now what is transpiration? Transpiration is the loss of water from the plant. It is mostly water is lost through the stomata or the lenticels. But it's basically the stomata or the lenticels. So now we're now looking at root hairs. How does water get into the root hair? It gets into the root hair by the action of osmosis. And water gets into the root hair by the action of what? Osmosis. The root hair absorb water. They make use of what we call the suction. Okay, don't let us go there yet. So the root hair gets water by the action of osmosis. Now, how does water get into the xylem tissue? Xylem tissue that conducts water and mineral salts. How does water get there? We have various places. We have the root pressure. Water gets there, root pressure, by the action of the root hairs as well. They make use of what we call suction pressure. It's like they are sucking the water. They have a kind of pressure against. They have a kind of pressure called osmotic pressure. So they make use of osmotic pressure to draw in this water straight up to the xylem tissue. So that's what we call the root pressure. We have the capillary action. Capillary action, simply, how do you understand capillary action? It's like you're making use of your straw. And when you make use of your straw, you draw it, it comes up. So capillary action is the upward movement of water in the xylem tissue. Upward movement of water in the xylem tissue. And while lastly, we have the transpirational pull. Transpirational pull, when water is being drawn into leaf by the action of the root. Movement of water from the root to the leaf. So that's transpirational pull. So with this, we've come to the end of a wonderful section, an enjoyable section of transport system. Some questions will pop up on your screen. Do the needful. Answer them. Remain blessed. Bye bye.